Hey, buddy. So, anyway, I wanted to explain this chart to you to make sure it makes a little more sense. And then we can go back and forth if you text me to clear things up. You can. So, this is the one that you actually had, I think, in front. You sent me a picture. You were looking at this one. This is that one where you've got the number of the amount of time they've been climbing down here, and then the level of difficulty they can climb up here. Now, just before we go any further, I want to let you know these numbers correspond to the codes. Let's go back over to here real quick. When we looked at the codes, like for example, let's look at this real quick. Oh, shoot, what just happened? There we go. So time climbing 1, 3, 5. These are the answer choices on the survey. And then at the bottom of each of these columns is what those numbers mean. So 1 is less than a month, 2 is 1 to 6 months, 3 is 6 months to a year, and so forth and so on. So those numbers don't mean anything in and of themselves. They stand for these time years or time lengths of time. Okay, and that goes for everything. I think the only one that doesn't do that is this one, the 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So people that put their choices down in here, actually, they were saying 5, 9, 5, 10, 5, 11. Every other number in all of these data sets stands for something else. So just so you know, that's a way to get the graphical looks at non-numerical data. Anyway, so if you put the time climbing on the horizontal and the route difficulty on the vertical, this is the graph you get. Now what I want you to see is I want you to see in the Scarpa ball, let's do the exact same thing. Let's pick time climbing on the horizontal and route difficulty. Oh, here we go. It's right here. So take a look at this graph right here. I know the colors are a little bit crappy, but that's unfortunately, we're stuck with that with the way the graph sets up. So you look at that. That is exactly the same graph as this. If you take a look at where the points are, they're exactly the same. You see how there's 3 there, and there's 3 there, and there's 3 there, and there's and there's 3 there, and so forth and so on. The difference is on this graph, it's called a bubble chart. The bigger the circle, the more people responded that way. So just to give you an example, in this graph here, this big ass point right here has 26 people. See the size says 26 right there? 26 people said they've been climbing for less than a month and they can climb 5'9". In this one, 3 people said they've been climbing less than a month and they can climb 5'10". In this one person said they've been climbing less than a month and they can climb 5'11". So what you're getting here is a little bit more information. You're seeing where, yeah, there are 3 responses, but this one gets used 26 times more than this one up here. Okay? Whereas in this graph, all you see is 1, 2, 3. You have no idea how many people actually responded that way. This happens all the time in surveys because when you give people choices to pick from, and there's not that many choices, you inevitably are going to get repeats. So that's why graphs like this aren't super helpful. I mean, you can see the trend line upward, but what you don't see is the fact that the trend line upward is actually more heavy on the bottom. You know, there's some stuff in the middle, but if you draw a line through the trend line like this, through the middle of it, I mean, if you look at this one, if you draw a line through the middle, kind of like that, you don't realize that there's actually more stuff under that line than above it. So that's why I like the bubble chart. Now, the downside, yeah, the bubble chart's great because of that. The downside of it is that I haven't been able to figure out how to set it up like this, where you can pick a data set and then have it update like this. So every single graph that you're going to see in here, unfortunately, doesn't correlate in a useful way with this graph. So let's suppose, for example, let's just look at one. Let's say you wanted to look at time climbing with the first reason why they purchased a shoe. Okay, so again, that graph is kind of sucky. That doesn't really tell you a whole lot. That basically tells you that every single choice you offered people was taken by at least one person, because every single choice is got a dot on it. But what it doesn't tell you, again, is how many people said, yeah, I've been climbing for less than a month and I picked reason number 6. I have no idea. I know there's at least one, but I don't know how many. So right now, the only real way of dealing with that, it's kind of clunky and I'm still trying to figure out how to make this better for you, is to come into here, find the data set that you want, which is the why purchase first. This is the first reason that they want to purchase the shoes. Select that data, okay, and then drop it into the bubble chart here. All right, whoops. I gotta change the axes here. This is what I'm working with right here. Why purchase? And then we gotta update the axes. Format axis. We're gonna make it be start at 0 and go up to, I think 6 was the high choice, right? There we go. There we go. All right. So now there's the same graph. This is exactly the same graph. It's getting a little bit cut off the top. Let me give it a little bit more space up top to breathe. Give it a 7 up there, maybe an 8. That way it can really pop out the top. There we go. Okay, so now here's the same graph you're looking at over here. Where was it? Here it is. Interesting though. Oh no, there's one hole missing. I didn't see that. So nobody picked 2, 4. And you can actually see that really clearly here. 2, 4 is missing. But what's nice about this is you can actually see that choice number 2 has been chosen more than the other choices. Regardless of time climbing, choice number 2 seems to be the most popular, or at least close to, on average, the most popular choice. And as people climb more and more and more, that choice gets larger and larger and larger, which means it gets picked most. So that would make me be like, okay, what is choice 2? Choice 2 was in why purchase. Why purchase choice 2 is fit. And then I sent you in the email, I sent you a little concern about why the word fit might be a little bit dodgy. You might want to ask, like, what about the fit? You know, does it fit like a street shoe? Does it fit well because I size it down, kind of a thing? I mean, again, I'm kind of out to lunch on how people fit shoes. Back in the day, we used to buy climbing shoes, you know, as tight as humanly possible because we knew they'd stretch. But now shoe technology's gotten better, so I don't know if that's even logical anymore. So that's just something to think about for later surveys. But big idea, this bubble chart right now, if you want to drop data points in to analyze them, you have to manually do it for now until I can figure out how to get this chart into this spreadsheet. And I just haven't been able to figure out yet because the bubble chart, let me explain to you how it works a little bit. It actually counts. It counts how many times these answer choices show up. So right now, this puppy dog right here, 2, 2. So if they answered 2 for time climbing and 2 for why they purchased, 10 people did that. So if you come down here, that's this point right here. This point is 2, 2. So if you hover over it, it should show you. There you go. Size 10. So what you're getting with each of these little points is that count, and this is the problem right here. This column is why I can't get it into this spreadsheet yet. I'm working on it, and I'm not giving up on it yet. It's just that I have to, the code is evading me right now. I'll figure it out. But for now, if you want to look at things in this spreadsheet, you have to manually drop them from the Scarpa ball sheet where we did the coding here manually. And I know that's a pain in the ass, but until I can get it figured out. Now, I'm hoping this weekend I'll have a little more time. I actually do. I mean, I know you said you don't have to worry about it because it's not that big of a deal. I actually do enjoy doing it. It's fun to kind of learn something new in Excel. And statistically, I think it actually helps a lot too, because it's just a new way of looking at stuff that I really hadn't thought of before. So anyway, brother, I hope that works. I'll send this to you off now, and we'll talk to you soon. Later, dude.